Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another episode of Her Own Way. Today, I am in conversation with Sana Khalid, founder and personal branding specialist, Minerva, Pakistan. She is also the former CEO of Hive. She called herself a productivity freak, productivity nerd, actually. She's a community builder. She's hiring top talent globally. She's people expert, leadership expert. So who really she is, we'll definitely ask her. Please welcome Sana Khalid. Assalamu alaikum Sana, कैसी हैं आप?
Assalamualaikum, ठीक ठाक. Thank you so much, Bisma, for inviting me.
Pleasure is mine, Sana. पहले तो मुझे ये बताइए, ये Minerva क्या है?
So Minerva is a venture that I started 11 years ago. And over time, it has really evolved. It started as something completely different. We failed several times, we pivoted several times, but now it is a leadership development, personal branding, and recruitment firm. So we work on almost every aspect of helping organizations build teams, map down their culture, streamline hiring processes. And then we also, as a recruitment agency, help place talent with different organizations around the world.
So why did Minerva? What does it mean, first of all? Minerva, what does it mean?
So Minerva comes from mythology, Greek mythology, and it technically means mythology. It's the goddess of wisdom, craft, education, and so on and so forth. And the reason we chose this name, it was suggested by my former boss. And the reason we chose this was because we wanted to do a lot of things under the umbrella of Minerva. And so this sort of encompassed everything. कि आप arts के ऊपर भी बात कर सकते हैं, culture के ऊपर भी कर सकते हैं, education पे भी कर सकते हैं, everything. So that's where it sort of came from.
So why do you call yourself productivity nerd? What it has to do with productivity?
So I've struggled a lot. I've always been very high performing, but I've struggled a lot with being productive because of a lot of reasons. उसमें anxiety भी है, burnout भी है, बहुत सारे reasons. And then also I am the kind of person who has a lot of things happening at the same time, and this has always been the case for as long as I remember. And so I always struggled with how to get the most out of my time. How can I do more? From the perspective कि बहुत सारी चीजें करने को, but also from the perspective that I used to be a huge perfectionist. तो वो भी एक मसला था. Procrastinate भी मैं बहुत करती थी, वो भी एक मसला था. तो over my 11 years, and when you're doing your own thing, तो accountability बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं होती आपकी, क्योंकि आपका अपना काम है. आप जब मर्जी करें, नहीं करना ना करें, नया product launch करना है तो करें, नहीं करना ना करें. So I always sort of had to find ways to keep myself accountable, to get the most out of my time without sort of spiraling down and anxiety attack. Or sort of getting burnt out. So I've always been very interested in how can I do more. So my tools भी experiment बहुत किए हैं मैंने, techniques भी बहुत experiment किए हैं. I've actually studied a lot about productivity, and productivity में obviously there's a lot of different things, time management भी है, tools भी है, processes भी है, systems भी है. There's a lot of things that fall under that domain. So it's just something that I'm always sort of trying to do.
So where do you keep the balance? How do you keep the balance?
Balance between
your work, your own personal self, your personal life, and your sanity. किस तरह से रखती हैं?
Sanity, I think I lost a long time ago. But no, on a serious note, I think I struggled a lot. Like I was always a workaholic. And for a very long time, I was also very proud of it, right? The fact that I was always working and I was doing a lot more than a lot of my people my same age were doing at the time. It's I think very recent, पिछले maybe 4-5 सालों में, 6 सालों में, where I started to feel that burnout and the fact कि अपने लिए भी time होना चाहिए और सारी जिंदगी work के around नहीं होनी चाहिए, and so on and so forth. So it has been difficult, but I think over time I've been able to identify कि अच्छा एक certain cut off time है दिन में, जिसके बाद मुझे कोशिश करनी है कि मैं काम ना करूँ. And then obviously there are exceptions. It's still very difficult. I don't think we have a solution as people who just like हमारी I think my life revolves around my work. I'm happiest when I'm working. But at the same time, I think I still sort of, it's very forceful, it's very conscious to find time for myself. Yeah, making sure कि अच्छा बस इस time के आगे नहीं करना. But I guess I still struggle with it. It's not something I've still figured out.
Um, Sana, if you're working, like you say, you enjoy your work. So how do you make time for your family? Are they used to it? And then if you're working, definitely people under you are also working, right? So how do you make sure that their sanity is intact?
So अच्छा family के case में, so I've been married almost close to 10 years now.
अच्छा, माशाल्लाह.
But and I think वो जो एक थोड़ा सा cut off time implement करने का reason भी यही था कि I wanted कि अच्छा बस अब when my husband gets back home तो we should be able to spend some time together. And उसकी वजह से थोड़ा सा मेरे काम में I slowed down a little bit, tiny little bit. But I think the good thing also was that my husband is very much like me when it comes to his career, right? So हम थोड़े से अनॉय भी होते हैं जब हम एक दूसरे को टाइम नहीं दे सकते, बट हम दूसरे को कुछ कह भी नहीं सकते बिकॉज हम खुद भी ऐसे हैं. So we're not we technically don't complain too much about it. We figure out ways, like हमें पता है कि हमें साल में एक दफा at least we have to go somewhere within Pakistan or outside of Pakistan, where we're not doing any work, 1 week 2 week type of break. जो कि कोरोना के टाइम पे नहीं हो सकी, लेकिन ये कि अदरवाइज हमें पता है कि दैट इज समथिंग दैट वी एब्सोल्युटली नीड, कि हम शायद पूरे साल ना कर सकें लेकिन हमें 2 हफ्ते का वो गैप चाहिए. And then I mean in terms of my own family, like my parents and उनके केस में था कि I live in Karachi now the past 3.5-4 years. बट मेरा काम इस किस्म का था कि मेरा इस्लामाबाद चक्कर लगता रहता था, तो आई वुड स्टे एट देयर प्लेस, तो वो थोड़ा बहुत सॉर्ट ऑफ बैलेंस किसी ना किसी तरह से हम अचीव कर लेते हैं. बट आई थिंक एवरीबडी सॉर्ट ऑफ नाउ अंडरस्टूड के इतना सा टाइम मिलेगा, उसी टाइम में जो करना है हमें करना है,
मिलके करना है.
हाँ. बट एज फार एज माई टीम इज कंसर्न्ड, I think one thing that I've been very, very conscious about is that just because I like my work, life revolves around my work, or I enjoy my work, or I love just working on things and ideas throughout like 9 to maybe 9 in the night, doesn't mean that my team has to do the same. So Minerva, maybe we have like everybody's allowed to block their calendars whenever they want to, no questions asked. सुबह में काम, सो कुछ हमारा काम का नेचर ऐसा है कि हमारी मीटिंग्स ऐसी होती हैं वो स्पेसिफिक टाइमिंग्स में होती हैं एक्सेट्रा, बट अदरवाइज एवरीबडी हैज द फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी टू डिसाइड कि उन्होंने कब किस चीज पे कैसे काम करना है. एंड देयर इज नो लाइक आफ्टर ऑफिस आवर्स आई लाइक ट्राई माय बेस्ट कि हम बिल्कुल कोई मैसेजिंग ना करें. अगर ईमेल करनी भी है तो वो अगले दिन के लिए स्केड्यूल कर दूं कि अच्छा अभी ना जाए, like things like these. So I'm very conscious of the fact that just because I want to be a certain way doesn't mean that everybody else has the same lifestyle.
I can understand if you have anxiety and if you have procrastination, they two go hand in hand. But productivity पे आपने कहाँ से jump लगाई, कैसे एकदम से jump लगा ली? मैं आपसे ये सवाल मैं भी बताई थी कि मैं इस पे रिवॉल्व अराउंड क्यों कर रही हूँ, बिकॉज ये एक ऐसी चीज है, स्पेशली बीइंग अ फीमेल एंड स्पेशली बीइंग जब अपना काम करना आप चाहते हैं, जब भी आप कुछ स्टार्ट करते हैं तो ऑब्वियसली उसमें आप बहुत देयर आर टाइम फेज जब आप बहुत कुछ करना चाहते हैं और फिर आप कर नहीं पा रहे होते हैं, देयर एंजाइटी किक्स इन, एंड देयर इज अ टाइम जब आप कुछ नहीं करना चाह रहे होते हैं, पीपल आर जस्ट लाइक आस्किंग यू भाई करना है, क्या करना है बताओ, देयर मैसेजेस कमिंग इन, ईमेल्स पोरिंग इन, बट यू डोंट वांट टू डू इट. तो एंजाइटी और उसका तो मुझे समझ में आ गया, प्रोक्रेस्टिनेशन का, लेकिन प्रोडक्टिविटी कैसे बीच में आ गई?
So I mean it stems from the same problem, right, where you start feeling like you're trying really hard but you're not really progressing. So and then वही के एक overwhelm, you don't want to feel anxious, so finding a way to making sure कि आप इतने overwhelmed ना हो काम से. And some of the things that we do are like very like, so for example, when I'm extremely overwhelmed, I know that one thing I have to do is just dump everything that's in my head onto a piece of paper, right? अब वो हर किसी के लिए different हो सकता है. This is something really simple, but it helps me get things out of my head. But there are other things, right? Like for example, I've identified focus times. during my day where I tell the team कि भाई इस time के बीच में try until unless कि बहुत कुछ urgent है या बहुत important है, try not to send out a message. अगर कुछ urgent है तो call कर ले, because messages भी आप जितना कोशिश करें वो आप distraction हो. So I mean the entire sort of interest in productivity stemmed from the fact कि आप बहुत कोशिश कर रहे हैं लेकिन आप उसको enjoy नहीं कर पा रहे, आप वो काम भी complete नहीं कर पा रहे because you're so overwhelmed. So how can you fix that? So I started building some sorts of processes and systems in place. बहुत सारी चीजें जो मुझे लगता था कि automate हो सकती हैं, जो कि take up your mental space, but they don't need to. Like अब we have the tools and technology, बहुत simple reminders, etc. Email automation, scheduling your emails, basic चीजें हैं, which really help in making sure कि आपकी mental capacity या mental space वो चीजें ले रही हूँ जो कि actually important हैं, जो that are actually productive to actually spend time on, right? So it just stemmed from the fact where I started feeling कि अच्छा I'm trying really hard, but one, I started to sort of not enjoy my work as much, जो कि मेरे लिए बहुत important है because I spend a lot of time working. And two, I'm also not progressing at the speed at which I would want to, simply because I'm trying to do a lot of things. So prioritizing, जो कि it's something that I still struggle with because सब कुछ करने का दिल करता है, right? But I've also figured कि वो नहीं होता. आप अगर 10 चीजें करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं तो वो 10 की 10 नहीं होगी. So बेहतर ये है कि आप 2 करें, right? So prioritizing what's important and trying to get as much clarity on why you want to do a certain thing and where it fits into your plan. Automating a lot of things. And most importantly, I think as part of this process is also empowering my team, right? कि वो काम खुद से कर सकें जहाँ उनकी dependence मेरे ऊपर कम से कम हो, because that also takes up mental space.
Yes.
So a lot of different things, but yeah, it stemmed from the fact that I wasn't happy with my progress.
आपने अपनी प्रोफाइल में मेंशन किया हुआ है monkey mind का, right? Yeah. Because when you were talking, so I thought that to bring that up also. कि तो ये monkey mind से फिर आपने कैसे अपने आप को focus किया towards?
So like I said, I keep trying out all the possible tools available. Abhi recently and a lot of people have told me already कि अभी तो इतना time नहीं हुआ है, you've become an ambassador of this app. But I just recently started trying out an app. It's called Motion, right?
Okay.
And I feel like it's really helped with my productivity and with focus, because once you put in your tasks into the app, it tells you what to do when.
Oh. Okay.
Based on उसकी priority, उसमें आपने बता दिया priority है, कितना time लगेगा, deadline क्या है, right? And it sort of makes your schedule for the day. So it sort of focuses, it helps you focus कि अच्छा अभी आपने 2 बजे से 4 बजे यही काम करना है and इसको खत्म करना है किसी तरह. But like I said, monkey mind is something that you can't get, at least for me, I haven't gotten rid of, but I'm learning to live with and manage properly, right? By building all these systems, by using all these tools, by making sure that my team is empowered enough to do their job without depending on me. So all of those things, I don't think there's a way to get rid of your monkey mind. वो तो ऐसा है, वो ऐसा ही रहेगा, वो उसमें 1000 टैब्स मेरे क्रोम में भी खुले होते हैं, वो मेरे दिमाग में भी खुले होते हैं, लेकिन
so relatable. मुझे हंसी इसलिए आई क्योंकि बाकी 1000 टैब खोल के पता नहीं हम क्या चाह रहे होते करना. So relatable, yeah. दिमाग में भी उतने ही टैब्स खुले होते हैं.
बिल्कुल. So you just have to learn to live with it and manage it properly. You can't completely get rid of it. At least I haven't found a way yet.
Okay. So Sana, मैं actually ये सवाल इसलिए पूछ रही थी because when I ask people कि आप बताइए who you really are, so they get really fumbled and stumbled upon it. तो मैंने कहा चलो खुद ही dissect करके सवाल पूछते रहे ताकि बंदे की असल personality बाहर आए. So if I ask you who really Sana is, so how would you explain that to us?
Of a lot of dichotomy. I think so my work is around people. And when I'm at work, I love being around people. I love working with people. I love building teams. I love working on culture. मेरा काम लोगों के around. But when I'm outside of work, I'm not a people's person at all.
Okay.
I don't like going out too much.
अच्छा.
अगर खाने के लिए भी ज़्यादातर ये होता है कि हम ऑर्डर इन करते हैं, बाहर नहीं जाते. Like so, I think मेरी लाइफ में बहुत dichotomy है. Everything, anything. There's a side of me that loves some things when I'm at work. There's a side of me that loves that doesn't love doing that at all when I'm outside of work. But like I said, a lot of my life revolves around work, and it has sort of defined the person I've come to be, which is my entire. I think I get the most happiness when I'm able to help someone achieve their goals. And it's something that I tell my team कि जब मेरी team में when I promote somebody या when I give somebody an increment, तो मुझे लगता है कि उनसे ज़्यादा खुशी मुझे होती है. कि मैं वेट कर रही होती हूँ कि कब वो चांस आएगा when I'm able to sort of promote somebody or give them an increment, because I feel like and I've also noticed that it obviously has a direct impact on the quality of work, on the quality of the culture, the happiness of the team, all of those things. But so I mean, in terms of who I am, I think I'm a people's person, and I'm not a people's person. I'm a very, I think empathy is sort of something that defines a lot of my decision making, everyday decision making, whether it's at work. It's one of my guiding principles, you can say. If I want to decide, make a tough choice, I'll definitely try and think about. And it's also very exhausting at the same time. So I'm very empathetic, but it also exhausts me. Because always to keep thinking कि अच्छा अच्छा अगर किसी ने बहुत बड़ी गलती कर दी है तो अच्छा पता नहीं maybe there's something wrong, maybe something is happening at home, maybe like there's all of those things. So yeah, I think a lot of dichotomy would
I can understand, Sana. I can really understand. ऐसा लग रहा है कि I'm looking in a mirror when you're talking about these things, and I'm sure when people will hear you out, they will feel the same, because I think to more or less we females go through the same thought process. But I don't want to take anything away from you. You are who you are, and you have made yourself to that special to the person you are. Sana, मैं इससे पहले hype पे jump करूँ, मैं चाहूँगी कि मिनर्वा के बारे में आप मुझे थोड़ा सा और बताइए. आपकी जो initiatives हैं जिसमें return work का एक मैंने देखा, वो मुझे उसके बारे में बताइए. What is this? क्या internship या कोई भी आपने जो training उसकी रखी हुई है, please share about that.
So under Minerva, there are a lot of different projects and programs that we run, which are all focused towards different segments of the talent pool or organizations. And unka objective at the end of the day is better careers, better teams, unke around fall karta hai. And जो आप जिस project की बात करें, it's called She Returns. And I started that project around 5 or 6 years ago. And I initially started it as a very experimental project because somebody reached out to me and said that, मेरा एक बहुत लंबा career gap है, and like from her conversation and from everything that she was telling me about herself, I was really impressed. But she talked as if मुझे कुछ नहीं आता और मैं जिंदगी में कैसे कुछ achieve करूंगी. And that sort of stuck with me, and when I started speaking to more people, I realized that a lot of women, and actually men also, who go on a career break and want to return, but more women because unki और भी बहुत सारी considerations होती हैं aside from just how do I get back to work. A lot of women suffer from this problem when they're trying to get back to work. So there's a lot of confidence का मसला होता है कि मैं कैसे कर पाऊंगी, मैं नहीं कर पाऊंगी. Network का मसला होता है, industry में अभी क्या चल रहा है, मैं किससे बात करूं, कहाँ से शुरू करूं, like all of those questions. So बहुत similar questions, बहुत similar concerns, fears, inhibitions लोगों के थे जो कि वापस आना चाह रहे थे काम के after a break. And so we started that as an experimental program, but it really went well. We had our first cohort had around 8 women. मुझे अब numbers exact याद नहीं है, but I think out of those 8 women, I think 4 of them got an offer right around during the program or right after the program. Some of them are now doing their own thing. I see a lot of their posts now that they're doing amazing things. And that's that's reason enough to continue, right? But उसका सारा objective ये था, and we've had 3 cohorts so far because वो 6 साल के बीच में मैं बीच में कराची shift हो गई तो वो थोड़ा सा gap भी आया, but we've done 3 cohorts so far, and I feel like all the women that I've come across through that program are such amazing people. हम talent pool हमारा, जब companies hiring के लिए ढूंढ रहे होते हैं तो talent pool already limited सा है, and then there's this amazingly talented pool of women who have the education, who have had the experience, लेकिन बस एक break आया है बीच में, and we're losing out on those women simply because we don't identify them as potential candidates for a job. So Minerva में currently we have 2 women working with us. Both of them have over 10 years ka career gap when they returned. One of them is now our talent acquisition manager, and I think कि हमारी जो recruitment का vertical है, it, if not 100%, 80% relies entirely on her. Like she's running it solely. So, I mean, the women who came out of those programs were proof that the program was required, and it has been successful. So that's one program. उसके अलावा हमने career readiness के ऊपर बहुत काम किया. So we worked a lot with recent graduates या soon to be graduates, helping them learn, because technical skills के ऊपर बहुत focus होता था एक ज़माने में और soft skills के ऊपर नहीं होता था. अब वो थोड़ा सा change हो रहा है. But 11 years ago when I started, तो soft skills को कोई नहीं पूछ रहा होता था as such. So we worked a lot on building soft skills for people who are about to graduate. So वो हमने career readiness master classes भी कराई. We did a lot of training and internship programs, जिनमें से I think over 350-ish people have graduated from those, and they're all doing amazing work now. So we did those programs. We also did a lot of work with entrepreneurs, helping them launch their businesses. That's something that we don't do anymore because we feel like they're more competent, more able organizations that can help entrepreneurs. So we work mostly with entrepreneurs on helping build their teams, but not launch their businesses now. So recruitment ke andar bhi now, the recruitment vertical is, we focus mostly on design and tech ke log. And one of the things that we do differently with our recruitment is that सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज रिक्रूटमेंट में आता है कि लोगों के पास टेक्निकल स्किल होती है लेकिन उनको कम्युनिकेट करना नहीं आता, या वो इंटरव्यू में पास नहीं हो पाते बिकॉज उनसे बात नहीं होती है, उनको पता नहीं होता कि अपने प्रोजेक्ट को कैसे एक्सप्लेन करना है. सो वी आल्सो सॉर्ट ऑफ ट्रेन देम अलोंग द वे व्हेन वी आर ट्राइंग टू प्लेस कैंडिडेट्स विद ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस. How do you present yourself? How do you work on your portfolio? How can you make a portfolio that people will actually like, given that you have all the skills that are necessary for that role? So we're recruiting for companies across the world. So we now have clients in Canada, Singapore, the US, Dubai. But ye abhi filhal we've been working with local talent. We do plan to start working with global talent also. So like there are a lot of different programs. Abhi hum kuch fellowships bhi kara rahe hain which are very domain centric. So fellowships for recruiters, fellowships for data scientists, fellowships for founders, where they can collectively learn and grow their skill set. Or
these fellowships in your own programs like She Return, job training karate hain unko. So are these physical or they are virtual? Yeah, hybrid hai.
They're hybrid. पहले physical होती थी, फिर वो during the pandemic हम बिल्कुल online चले गए. So we've experimented with all sorts of formats. But I think moving forward, we're looking at a lot because we're planning to also scale outside of Pakistan. So it feels more feasible that we do more online work.
Yes.
But we continue to do some on-site sessions as well because sometimes that works better for some programs. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So why did you leave Hive?
So Hive and Minerva were technically both full-time roles, right? Like उनमें से कोई एक भी part-time नहीं था, and it was really getting exhausting. I spent around 3.5 years at the Hive. I think we did a lot of good work there, but it was getting really exhausting, and I could see that there was a lot of potential that we could with Minerva, with the work that we were doing with people, and I felt like I mean initially मैंने hype छोड़ा था कि मैं एक break लूँ और थोड़ा सा सोचूं कि अच्छा Minerva पे भी क्या करना है नहीं करना, how do we go forward, what projects to launch, what to work on, what not to work on, but वो आदत से मजबूर वो break हुआ नहीं और मजीद projects बहुत सारे start हो गए. So but I mean no specific reason as such except for the fact that it was getting really exhausting. It was just time to move on.
ओके ग्रेट. अच्छा सना, मुझे ये बताइए कि ये जब आपने जर्नी स्टार्ट की, अपने आप कहते हैं आपने 11 साल पहले की जर्नी स्टार्ट की, सो what made you do that? What made you want to be an entrepreneur? और आई थिंक उस वक्त में फीमेल entrepreneurs भी नहीं होंगे, इतना फ्रेंडली entrepreneur अरीना नहीं होगा, मेरा ख्याल है, आप बताइए.
फीमेल तो बहुत दूर की बात थी, मतलब एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप का कॉन्सेप्ट भी नहीं था, लाइक नहीं पता था कि जो हम कर रहे हैं वो क्या है, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप है या नहीं. लाइक आई नेवर हैड दैट वर्ड इन माय माइंड 11 years ago, right? But there's no fancy story. It was out of boredom that I started this venture. I did see a problem कि अच्छा people are finding it hard to find jobs. लर्निंग उस तरह से नहीं है, हमारा एजुकेशन सिस्टम उतना स्ट्रांग नहीं है कि वो ऐसे लोग प्रोड्यूस कर रहा हो जो कि इमीडिएटली जिनको जॉब्स मिल जाएं एक्सेट्रा. सो वी स्टार्टेड फ्रॉम दैट एंगल. इट वाज a very naive decision. I think naivety is one of my core themes in my life. I've done things not knowing any better and then they somehow worked. So it just started as an experiment where I thought, we'll start these sessions, we'll start these workshops and trainings. And then मैं actually छुट्टी पे आई हुई थी from my job in Dubai. And I thought कि अच्छा मैं इसको थोड़ा सा setup करके और किसी को देके और खुद मैं वापस चली जाऊंगी. But that didn't happen, and it's now we're here.
क्या challenges आए इस जर्नी के अंदर?
यार ये बहुत डिफिकल्ट सवाल होता है मेरे लिए इसका जवाब देना, और उसका रीजन ये है कि I've never thought about challenges as such. Like I've never focused on them, I think. So it's very difficult for me to answer that question. Like I think challenges to Dada, there was a lot of naivety and like stupidity and like a lot of mistakes that I made. मैं वो जगह ले ली, आपने रेंट दे दिया, सब कर लिया और आप जाके बैठ के अच्छा बस आप खोल लिया है तो क्लाइंट भी आ ही जाएगा, that kind of thing. Like उस वक्त कोई आपको सिखा नहीं रहा होता था, बिजनेस की इतनी बात नहीं होती थी, सोशल मीडिया पे भी इतनी बात नहीं हो रही होती थी. I mean this is really the time when लोग brochures पे marketing करते थे, right? Like literally that time. So इतनी कोई बात online की भी बात नहीं हो रही होती थी and so on. So challenges, I guess, एक तो I started at a really early age. So I remember a lot of times people not, like I was actually told कि आप बहुत छोटी हैं अभी, आप अपने यहाँ से बाल थोड़े से white कर लें ताकि लोग आपको seriously लेते हैं. I think like that was a problem. Not knowing enough was a problem, and to some extent an advantage also. But not knowing enough meaning कि कैसे business करना है, लोगों तक कैसे बात जाएगी, क्या product चलेगा क्या नहीं चलेगा, market को कैसे test करना है. So I think more than challenges, it was just lack of information that was available at that point in time, lack of support that was available. कि अब वो एक entrepreneurial ecosystem है where you can find mentors, you can find other people who are doing similar things, learn from them. वो नहीं था.
I see. But, so do you think ये जो lack of information थी वो इसलिए भी थी कि हमारे पास कोई इतने mentoring platforms नहीं हैं, कोई इतने leadership के platforms नहीं हैं, especially females को लेके जो guide कर सकें और आपको बता सकें where you're going wrong, यानी कि अगर आप एक entrepreneur journey start कर रही हैं?
I think it's a mix of a lot of things. One is that अगर मैं अपनी personally बात करूँ, right? Like I was not the person to go and ask for help. Right? I was not that person at that point. Now I am. Now I know that all I have to do is call someone up and say कि मुझे नहीं समझ आ रहा, can you tell me how to do it? Yeah, I'm trying to do this and I'm not able to do it. How do I do it? But उस वक्त ऐसा नहीं था कि इतना open आप कह लें कि mindset नहीं था कि अच्छा I will go and ask somebody. एक ये मसला था. दूसरा I think कि even like there was a lot of resources available online, but at the same time local information available थी. So, you know, from a local market perspective, didn't know what would work, what kind of price ranges would work, etc. So there was that. I think opportunities फिर भी थी. I think बस ये नहीं पता था कि उनको कैसे tap in करना है. I don't think कि mentorship की कमी है. Like particularly if we're talking about now, मैं तो बहुत पुरानी बात कर रही हूँ. अगर हम अभी की बात करें, I think what we need to do is you just need to log into LinkedIn and you'll find 100 people who are willing to help you if you just send them a message with a clear and concise sort of question on what do you need help with. And mentorship platforms भी बहुत हैं. I don't think that is anymore the problem. I think अगर problem होगा तो वो ये कि you don't know how to ask for help.
Okay. ओके सना, ये पर्सनल ब्रांडिंग क्या है? आप आपकी प्रोफाइल में इसकी बड़ी बात है, कितना जरूरी है क्या चीज और ये क्यों जरूरी है?
सो पर्सनल ब्रांडिंग की simplest explanation would be how can you become more visible? What do people remember you for? What do people reach out to you for? And ये बहुत cliched conversation हो गई, but हर किसी का एक personal brand है, right? Like अगर आपसे पहली दफा if I'm speaking to you for the first time, I've already made up my mind about what kind of a person you are, right? So consciously or unconsciously, everybody has a personal brand. You know that friend जिसको पता होता है कि हर movie नई कौन सी लगी है, उसका personal brand ये है कि उसको हर movie का पता होता है, या हर नई food outlet. So everybody has a personal brand, but consciously working on your personal brand makes sure that you control that narrative, right? Like what do you want people to come to you for? What kind of job opportunities do you want to attract? What kind of people do you want to connect with? So I'm a personal branding strategist, so mera bias hai ki obviously it's extremely important, right? It doesn't matter what part of your career journey you're at, chahe aap entrepreneur hain, when investors are investing, they're investing in you, right? So what you come off as, what your personality is, what your brand is, what they think you can do is extremely important. A lot of times people say, you know, why should I care what people think about me? But of course, if somebody is going to hire you, they will hire you based on what they think about you. If somebody will invest in you, they will invest based on what if somebody's going to promote you, if they're going to fire you, if they're going to marry you, they will do all of this based on what they think about you. So being able to control that narrative, and personal branding, we worked almost her career journey ke har step pe different logon ke sath we worked on personal branding. Sometimes the objective is to get a promotion. Sometimes the objective is to get a job. Sometimes the objective is to become more known, well known in the industry as a thought leader. Sometimes the objective is a separate revenue income stream. आप book लिखना चाहते हैं, आप speaking gigs के through revenue generate करना चाहते हैं. So in a nutshell, it's getting visibility in front of the right people for the right reasons.
सना, ये बताइए, आप इधर हैं, आई थिंक जब 11 साल पहले स्टार्ट किया था, यू सेड योरसेल्फ के एंटरप्रेन्योर्स तो दूर के बाद कॉन्सेप्ट, तो ये वर्ड ही नहीं था और फीमेल एंटरप्रेन्योर्स तो सवाल ही नहीं होता पैदा होता. तो कहीं मुझे ये बताइए कि जब यू बिकेम द एंटरप्रेन्योर और आप उस तरह से आपने अपनी जर्नी स्टार्ट की, तो आपको कोई इस तरह के माइंडसेट मिले कि ये खातून है, ये इतने अच्छे डिसीजंस नहीं ले सकेंगी या हमें इन पे इन्वेस्ट करना चाहिए कि नहीं?
I think I've been surrounded by amazing people. I never in my entrepreneurial journey have felt this way for the longest time. I think बहुत कोई कम instances ऐसे definitely हुए. I remember हम sponsorship proposal के लिए लेके जाते थे जब किसी भी organization में. So a lot of times we'd go and we'd get more advice than money. आप इसको ऐसे कर लें, आप ऐसे ना, आप इससे बात करें. Like they never do that. So once I decided to take my husband with me, and I was actually amazed that they were talking about money. I was like, and my husband kept saying, you know, I like sabhi thodi si baat hui, my husband kept telling them that, you know, I am just the driver. I just drove her here she's going to make the decision. So please speak to her. And so it's more recent that I've started to feel that way. And uska ek reason ye ho sakta hai ki then when you're in a more when you have a certain level of experience and when you have, when you're in a more visible position, तो आपके इंटरेक्शन भी ज्यादा डिसीजन मेकर्स के साथ होता है. जब आप स्टार्ट कर रहे होते हैं या आप छोटे लेवल पे काम कर रहे होते हैं तो आप एवरीडे लोगों के साथ मिल रहे होते हैं, बट दे आर नॉट डिसीजन मेकर्स एट लार्जर ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस और व्हाटएवर द केस माइट. सो आई थिंक वो इंटरेक्शन मेरा ज्यादा पिछले 5 साल में शायद हुआ होगा, जिसमें कुछ जगहों पे आई फेल्ट दैट यस एज अ वुमन आई हैड टू लाइक लिटरली स्पीक लाउडर टू बी हर्ड. But on a whole, I think I've been surrounded by amazing women, amazing men who've been very supportive, who've not sort of discriminated कि अच्छा अगर ये लड़की है तो ये कर सकेगी या नहीं कर सकेगी या decision सही होगा या नहीं होगा. बहुत rare circumstances, but I think I'm just lucky in that situation. I know a lot of women who go through horrible experiences as well. So there's no denying their experience, but for me, I've just been lucky, I guess.
I think there's more to that being lucky, because कोई ऐसी चीज lucky होती नहीं है. किसी ने बुक में एक लिखा था कि सिर्फ एक 12 मिनट की रेस जीतने के लिए I don't remember the exact number, पता नहीं कितने साल, 11 साल एक एथलीट जो होता है वो पता नहीं घंटे या 2 घंटे या 12 घंटे प्रैक्टिस करता है, तब जाके वो, and you say that it's lucky, it's not luck, उसके पीछे इतना हार्ड वर्क होता है. So maybe the hard work is somewhere in the mindset and maybe how you have taken into challenges, but yes, there are a lot of challenges out there. और इस तरह के demeaning statements भी होते हैं कि ख़वातीन जो होती हैं वो खुद ख़वातीन को आगे बढ़ने नहीं देती. How much do you agree to that or disagree to that?
So I've never worked for a woman. I've worked with a lot of women. And again, like I said, all the women that I've worked with, I think we've all had a role to play in each other's success. But I think, like again, ये थोड़ा सा वही मेरा problem of trying to think from जो नहीं आगे आने दे रहा एक और खातून को, उसका क्या मसला हो सकता है, right? So I'm also thinking from that perspective, and I feel like for women it's a very competitive space. Because अगर 10 लोगों ने director level पे एक organization में जाना है, let's assume, तो उनमें से शायद कोई एक will be a woman and the rest of the 9 will most likely be men. So for the women in that organization, it's a very tough competition. And I feel like वो जो थोड़ी सी leg pulling है, वो primarily security की एक lack of security की वजह से हो सकती है. But you're right. I mean, I do somewhat agree with it. I don't have a lot of personal experiences to back it up. But like I said, there have definitely, I've heard from a lot of women who have felt that way, where somebody, a woman जो आपके ऊपर या आपकी boss है या whatever, वो या आपके साथ भी काम कर रही है, उसको थोड़ा सा वो एक मसला है कि वो किसी तरह आपसे आगे. But I also feel like, I mean, that would be the case for a lot of men as well. But for women, I guess it's just more competitive because there's lesser opportunities that everybody needs to. So they need to make their own space. They need to be more visible. But yeah, I don't think there's denying the fact कि हाँ है तो थोड़ा सा है मसला.
I think Queen B का जो syndrome है कि बस I am at the top and I should remain there. ये भी जो एक syndrome है हमारे यहाँ या क्या phenomena है, I'm calling it a syndrome, but ये जो concept है इसको आप जरा बताइए कि अक्सर आप लोगों से पूछे कि they're really good at it. In fact ये एक मसला universal भी है, लेकिन अपने successors नहीं बनाते और वो कहते हैं, और अक्सर लोग कहते हैं कि ये female में ये problem ज्यादा है कि she wants to be mother, queen mother और फिर queen bee and उनके नीचे सब रहे, उनके level पे कोई ना है.
Yeah, I think I generally don't I look at things very differently in most situations, right? I'm not one to focus on problems. I guess that's why it's very hard for me to relate a lot of times, even though I understand where somebody is coming from. But I think, for example, if you're running a business or if you're the manager or whatever, it doesn't make business sense for people below you to not be able to do their job well. It makes zero business sense. So if you are a person who is trying to sort of suppress somebody or stifle their progress or whatever, I think the first problem is that you don't understand business. Because अगर मैं manager हूँ और मेरे से नीचे के लोग, I'm hiring like a lot. I know a lot. I've heard a lot of stories around people trying to hire people who are not better than them.
Yes.
Which is so stupid. If I am a manager, I want the person below me to know more than me. Right? That would be ideal, because that makes my life easier. That produces better results. It looks good on me. I mean, if my department is doing a good job, it means I am doing a good job. So I think it just comes from a lack of security, a lack of understanding of business. And I guess over time ये चीजें थोड़ी सी change भी हो रही हैं. I again see a lot of things changing in the workplace culture. बहुत large scale पे नहीं, it's very tiny steps, but it's happening, where people have started to realize that the reason you hire somebody is because you need to fill a gap. अगर आप वो gap fill नहीं होने देंगे, so then the entire purpose of having that person work for you sort of fails.
Okay.
Right.
So yeah, you want to say something? Say. Okay. तो सना मुझे फिर ये बताएं कि differences of opinion कैसे handle करती हैं, conflicts कैसे handle करती हैं आपस में, co-founder हो अपने.
I think a lot of times most problems occur because of bad communication or no communication. I've seen people crib about things, जबकि the only solution was कि जाके बात कर लो, मतलब. And I think we're technically, and I'm not saying other people, even myself, I don't enjoy confrontation. I don't enjoy telling somebody नहीं आप गलत हैं. I don't enjoy those difficult conversations. I think nobody enjoys those difficult conversations. But I think the thing that we lack in our workplace cultures, and I think generally in our culture, not just at the workplace, is कि हम communicate नहीं करते अगर कोई मसला होता है. So for me, it's very simple. It's like अगर मेरी कोई टीम का बंदा आके मुझे कह रहा है कि नहीं, I want to do it this way. सही है, convince me. I'll tell you कि मेरे pros and cons of what I'm saying ये हैं. You tell me आपके pros and cons जो आप बात कह रहे हैं वो इसलिए हमें करना चाहिए. What is the reason you want to do a certain way? And I think one of the things that I've done throughout my entrepreneurial journey with my team is that whenever I ask them to do something, I make sure they understand why we're doing it, or why I want it done a certain way, for example. And I think a lot of times, a lot of issues उसी से resolve हो जाते हैं. But then obviously कुछ issues होते हैं जो कि आपके value system के level पे conflicts हैं, where somebody wants to do something which conflicts with your own personal value system, for example, right? अब वो religious हो सकता है, वो वैसे हो सकता है, otherwise हो सकता है. But I think the first step is always conversation. The second step is to also think openly कि आप जो कह रहे हैं वो आप क्यों कह रहे हैं, या अगर आप मना कर रहे हैं तो आप क्यों मना कर रहे हैं. So having that, backing it up and thinking in your head also, okay, if I am asking this person to do it this way, why can I not do it another way? Why is this a better way? So I'm generally somebody who thinks through a lot of things कि अच्छा मैं अगर कुछ कर रही हूँ तो मैं उसको ऐसे क्यों कर रही हूँ, which is why I think कि वो explanation आसान हो जाती है. A lot of times अगर कुछ मेरा टीम का बंदा मुझे कोई काम भेजता है और वो feedback मांगता है तो I tell them give me a while. I've read it. I'm not sure, but I haven't figured why. So give me some time. Let me think about, if I want to give you feedback, I want to tell you why I don't like it or how you can make it better, right? But I think conversation is always, there's no scientific formula that I can offer. It's just having a conversation with an open mind.
what is your idea of a dignified workplace, and how do you ensure that your workplace where you are working or where people are working for you is dignified?
So, I mean, when we talk about dignity at work, I think it's a very simple concept, right? It's basically saying that you respect a particular individual and you respect the work that they do, right? So simplest version of a dignified workplace would be a place where people feel respected and they feel valued for whatever work they're doing, right? उसके अंदर growth के opportunities आ जाती हैं, agency आ जाती है, they have a significant degree of autonomy, उनकी well-being के बारे में देखा जा रहा है, देखा जा रहा है. But I think if any organization is talking about diversity and inclusion and equity, ये सारी चीजें come from that concept of dignity, right? Like you respect people for who they are and what they can do. So for my team, I think the most important thing is that everybody knows that they can stand up. Like one thing that I tell everybody is to respect other people and also to never accept disrespect. Never. It doesn't matter whether it's me, whether it's a client, whether it's someone else. If someone is disrespectful, it's not acceptable. So one, I think for the team to know that they can stand up for themselves, that they can say their whatever they feel. That's one. Two, I think a very clear messaging from the leadership is extremely important. So in my entire journey, whether it was at the Hive, whether it was at Minerva, अगर किसी client ने भी अगर किसी बंदे से बदतमीजी की है, which is disrespectful, as a service provider, we're always told कि client is always right, और सही है, client को service करना होता है. आपने उनका अगर कोई कुछ आपने गलत किया है तो आप उसकी ओनरशिप भी लेंगे, अगर उनको कोई इनकन्वीनियंस हुई आप उसकी ओनरशिप भी लेंगे, अगर उनको कोई मसला हो रहा है आप उसको फिक्स भी करेंगे. But nobody has a right to be disrespectful, and my team was always aware of that fact. If a client did something or said something, I would always stand up for them. And this is not just for women, it's generally for men, women, whatever. And हुए हैं ऐसे cases where a client was disrespectful and I had to go and tell them that बाकी सब ठीक, but ये acceptable नहीं. So do not speak to my team like this. And similarly, I think a lot of sensitivity training, ये बहुत cliched बात लगती है, but हमारे a lot of times, particularly क्योंकि you're talking about women, I think a lot of men, because देखिए हम इसी environment और इसी culture और इसी society में बड़े हुए हैं, पले हैं, हमने वही conversation सुनी है, हमने वही jokes सुने हैं. So a lot of times men make these comments and remarks, and even women sometimes, but they don't realize कि इसमें कुछ मसला है. उनको लगता है बहुत normal बात है. वो बहुत सारी बातें ऐसी कह जाते हैं जो कि किसी को uncomfortable कर सकती हैं, या उनको disrespect feel करा सकते हैं. But I think वो sensitivity training missing है. A lot of people do not understand. So we did a lot of those trainings also. We had a lot of open conversations about what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. What you might think, you might not have a bad intention, but intention तो मुझे नहीं पता. आप जो बोल रहे हैं मुझे तो वो पता है. So having those conversations is important, and having them openly. And अगर कोई ऐसी situation हो तो sending a very strong message is extremely important. It sometimes requires making a lot of tough decisions, saying a lot of tough things, but it's extremely important. I think at leadership level, it's mandatory for you to be able to create a dignified workspace where everybody feels respected.
Diversity and inclusion की आपने बात की. डाइवर्सिटी एंड इंक्लूजन की बात करते हैं अक्सर लोग, आपने भी बात की. तो इदारे कितने प्रैक्टिकली इसको फॉलो कर रहे हैं, या वो एक नंबर गेम है? किस तरह से आप उसको देखती हैं DNI को?
हाँ, आई थिंक अब वो चाहे अंडर प्रेशर हो, आई थिंक इम्पोर्टेंट ये है कि रिजल्ट क्या निकल रहा है, राइट? सो अब वो अगर अंडर प्रेशर कर रहे हैं या ऑप्टिक्स के लिए कर रहे हैं, बट उसकी वजह से, या वो जेन्युइनली कर रहे हैं, but उसकी वजह से they're hiring more diverse people from different backgrounds, people with different opinions, religions, etc. तो outcome तो अच्छा ही है कि अच्छा चले, there more diversity in the workspace, चाहे उसका reason जो भी हो. So we do see that shift कि a lot of people at board level, company objective level, it's being recognized as an important factor. I think the most important thing is for a lot of businesses, and when we generally talk about business and diversity and inclusion and all of this, I think there's no one size fits all. Her organization की अपनी capacity होगी, her different nature of work होगा. Similarly, every person will be different. But I think the more women, अगर हम particularly जब हम diversity की बात करें, अगर हम women की बात करें for now, के women representation, I think more women coming into the workforce is the number one prerequisite for people to take it seriously. You know, अगर मैं if I'm an organization और मेरी organization 100 लोगों की organization में 2 खवातीन हैं, तो शायद मेरे लिए day care की requirement नहीं. And so people who have that privilege, particularly women, I think women who have the privilege, and when I say privilege, I'm not just saying financial background, but अगर आपका support system है जो बच्चों को cater कर सकता है या आपके बाकी चीजों को cater कर सकता है. So I would definitely encourage all those women to come and join the workforce, because it will make life a lot easier for other women, and it will make business sense for businesses to actually start providing the infrastructure that's needed for diversity and inclusion to work, right? सिर्फ hire कर लेना तो important नहीं होगा, उसके बाद आपकी बहुत सारा infrastructure चाहिए. You need maybe a daycare center, आपकी policies regarding leave, paternal, maternal leave impact होगी. आपके if you have a daycare, you also need maybe a changing station. Like there's a lot of different, there's an infrastructure involved जो कि आपको in place करना पड़ेगा, which will only make business sense for organization once more and more women start to join.
Sana, why there's so much need for females to join the workforce? मतलब क्या जो वो काम कर रही हैं, जो उनके traditional roles हैं, is this something somewhat less या वो कोई demeaning है?
Not at all. I think we talk a lot about empowerment, right? Like आपके backdrop में भी है empowered women. I think the most basic form of empowerment is for a woman to be able to choose whatever she wants to do. If she wants to be at home with her child, that's fine. If she wants to be the primary breadwinner of the family, that's fine. It has to be her choice, right? Right now, a lot of that choice is influenced by a lot of other factors. कि मेरी सास क्या कहेंगी, मेरा मियाँ क्या कहेगा, मेरे बच्चे क्या सोचेंगे, मुझे सैलरी उतनी नहीं मिल सकेगी जितना मेरा मियाँ कमाता है, तो you know it doesn't make sense कि अगर हम ये रोल रिवर्स करना चाहें तो हम नहीं कर सकते, because the woman will not earn equally. Like there's a lot of factors in it. अगर मेरी personal choice है कि I don't want to work, then it's my personal choice, and it's fine. लेकिन if it's being forced upon me for whatever reason, that's a problem. That's where you've taken that empowerment away from the woman and made that choice. The society has made a choice for her, or the husband has made that choice for her, which is the problem that I have, right? And the reason I said more women need to come to work, there are multiple reasons, but मैं जो जिस context में बात करी थी, that was more के when will businesses start taking women more seriously? When there are more women to see, right, in the workspace. तो मेरी रिक्वायरमेंट को सुना जाएगा, बिकॉज सिर्फ मैं अकेली नहीं, मेरे साथ 10 और खवातीन हैं जिनकी सेम रिक्वायरमेंट है. So it will become easier for women that are coming in the future. But otherwise also, I think financial independence for a woman is extremely important for her to be empowered, to be able to make her own decisions, right? And again, I'm not generalizing. हर बंदे की situation unique होती है. But and it's not a fight between man and woman, husband or wife, right? But आपको नहीं पता होता जिंदगी में कब क्या मसला हो. आपका हस्बैंड नहीं काम कर सकता तो आप क्या करेंगे, या आपका हस्बैंड कुछ हो जाता है, बीमार हो जाता है, whatever, कुछ भी हो सकता है, आपको नहीं पता. So you must have a skill, you must have a network, you must have a life outside of work जिसको आप tap in कर सकें in a situation like this. A lot of women become very isolated at home जब वो और उनको कुछ भी करने की इजाजत नहीं होती, या उनको लगता है कि वो सही नहीं है, या वो अंडर प्रेशर होती हैं, तो उनका कोई नेटवर्क नहीं होता घर के बाहर, उनको वेंट करना है, उनको देयर आर लॉट ऑफ इश्यूज. So I think for women to be empowered, there are different types of empowerment, right? The ability to choose, to be financially empowered की बात कर रहे हैं हम, या हम decision making की बात कर रहे हैं, या even small things like even if you decide कि अच्छा मुझे काम नहीं करना, मुझे I want to take care of my kids, do you have the ability to choose how your kids are raised, where they go to study, and how will that be decided, based on who's earning, or based on the fact that you are spending more time raising those kids? It's not as simple, and I don't think there's one correct answer or solution. It will have to be it's a really long journey.
Who is an empowered woman for you? What's your image of an empowered woman?
Like I said, somebody who can make her own choices.
Great. Your message to the females out there जो आपको देख रही हैं, क्या मैसेज देना चाहेंगे?
Just be vocal, ask for help, ask for promotion, apply for the job that you think you're not eligible for. Just do it. Like,
सही. सना, हमारे प्लेटफॉर्म से कोई चीज आप कमिट करना चाहेंगी? कोई खातून आपको रीच आउट करे, कोई एक खातून को जो आपको मतलब आपके अपने शी रिटर्न के प्रोग्राम में या किसी भी जो भी है, इफ यू फाइंड एलिजिबल, तो वो आप उसको इनकॉर्पोरेट करेंगी? टू यू?
Absolutely. I get reached out by a lot of women on LinkedIn. I'm always available. Absolutely, whatever help you need.
Thank you so much, Sana. It was such a amazing conversation. एक के बाद एक questions होते रहे और आपके बहुत insightful answers थे. I wish you all the best and more power to you, more success to you. Keep rising and keep shining. Thank you very much for watching the video. For more such videos, stay connected with us on our social media pages. Like, share, and subscribe to Red International.